All right, next up I'm going to turn to something that caught my eye in relation to the Today Show. This caught my eye on social media because Andrew Klavan, an American social media personality, picked this up from America, and I thought, that's interesting. There's a guy from America covering something from the Today Show. It must be big. And so I watched it, and in his words, what he saw in a clip from the Today Show rankled him. And I gotta say, it rankled me too. And it just got under my skin in a way that this stuff usually doesn't. You usually just wash it off, but this bugged me. Let me tell you what it is. The hosts of the Today Show, they quite literally trawled up a Facebook post from an unsuspecting Brisbane mother of four called Brooke Smith. The host, Alison Langdon, prefaces what she's about to say with this. She says, "Let me take you back to the 1950s," and she's full of, condescending smirks. And she proceeds to read this post. And I don't know the context of the post or why it was made or who she was replying to, but hey, they pulled it out and they put a picture there on the screen for all to see. And the post reads, "I will always make sure I don't go to bed until everyone's lunches are packed. Their clothes are set out for the next day, including my husband's, and the house is clean, dishwasher is on, and a load of washing is on. Sometimes it means I go to bed at 9. Sometimes it means I go to bed at midnight, but I always get up early, 4:30 a.m. with my husband to make his breakfast and coffee." And that was said, and as she's reading it out, there's audible groans from the other presenters and hosts. And Alison sarcastically says at the end of reading out that quote, she goes, "You go, Brooke, whatever." And then there's much mocking and laughter from all present. And Alison actually says she cannot believe that people online are praising Brooke for that comment or what she does. And then Chris Smith and Carl Stefanovic, in an urgent effort to show their feminist viewers how woke and man-hating they are, they start laying into this lady's husband, never having met her, not knowing diddly squat about what a decent bloke he is or how good he might be to the family or anything like that. No, they lay into him and they say, has he been hypnotised or something? Who does this stuff? And he needs to get off his own backside and all this kind of thing. And then, as if that wasn't enough, the Today Show then took that clip and tweeted it. And they tweeted it with this caption: "A Brisbane mum has been slammed," all in capital letters, "after revealing online that she doesn't go to bed until the house is clean," etc. And slammed by who? Well, by Alison Langdon and presumably the jeers and laughs of everybody else. Well, do you know, if they asked, who does this stuff? I'm going to tell you who does this stuff. People who want to serve others do this stuff. People who are selfless do this stuff. People who love somebody else and people who live for something outside of themselves, good people, do this stuff. People who want to, my mum did this for me. I've got 3 sisters and a brother and a dad, and she did wonderful things, and I hold her in high regard because it showed something astonishing about her character. And I've always regarded that, and I regard that in other women as well. It's honourable. And what if she had said this instead? Here's a hypothetical. Alison, Carl and Chris, who were on the panel at the time, what if she said, "I will always make sure I don't go to bed until all my client emails are sent and my work is updated. I wake at 4:30 a.m. to get ahead of a busy day and check in with my boss and start work on the right foot. Sometimes that means I miss out on sleep. But hard work has seen me promoted and given me high status in my company. I hope to make CEO next year." Would that get mocked? I know that it wouldn't get mocked. We all know the answer, but there's a difference between those two scenarios. And it's this: Brooke Smith does what she does for free. She's not remunerated. She does not ascend some kind of scale of power that the world around her thinks is praiseworthy. No, she's actually given that away. Why would she have given that away? Answer: for love of other people. Just imagine doing selfless things to enrich the lives of your children and your husband, simply because you love them and care about them, and live life out of a posture whereby seeing others blessed and happy is more important to you than anything else. Oh, ha ha, isn't that funny? Hilarious, how mockable, how pathetic, say the scoffers. And that's what I think these are. I mean, the Bible's full of that phrase, scoffers. These scoffers are people whose God is materialism. Dollars, status, appearance, success, because they spend their 4:30 a.m. on a TV camera, often just talking about banality in the morning, and they cannot comprehend that somebody else would do something altogether more priceless for honourable reasons. And I don't think that's too harsh. The way they laughed and shook their head, etc., means they cannot comprehend it. Now let me break this down for a second. I'm at the edge of a big topic here, and I'm not going to deal with it in full today, but I'm going to address part of it. And I might step on 75 landmines in the process, but whatever. I think this needs defending. I think we've bought some lies in relation to this whole area of thinking. I think we've imbibed, for example, the lie that a person's value is tied to their status in materialistic terms. You know, everyone is always on about, say, women's empowerment, equality, and all that hoopla, but what do they mean by that? Mostly they mean how many women are in the boardroom, how many are on the benches in the parliament, or how many are on the Forbes rich list. They don't mean quotas for female labourers or jobs that they don't think are lucrative or powerful or glamorous. They rage against the patriarchy for what? Political power, financial power, earthly wealth. Where do we get the idea that that is how you measure a person's value to others or to society, or how you measure a person's freedom or liberty or anything like that? Where do we get that idea? There's only one answer to that question, and it's Marxism. It's that same set of ideas that seems to infuse all of this sort of lefty thinking. But more than that, we've believed the lie that these are the things that make you happy and fulfilled. And that isn't true. Look, these things don't make most people happy and fulfilled. It's not just a women problem, but I think Jordan Peterson is on the money when he sounds a very timely just warning and some sage advice when he says, and he says this particularly to younger women, he says, be careful, be very careful about the false promise and the false hype around the fulfillment of a career. Because first of all, it's far more likely that you'll have a job, not a career. And I think you know what I mean by that. You know, it's most people, and I talk to a lot of people in a given day, most people have days on which they wake up and they go, what am I doing with my life? Why am I doing this work? Because it's a job. And you know what? It's not the end of their fulfillment. It's not fulfilling unless you're 1 in 1,000. And it's true. And I mean, I've just hit my 30s. And, I resonated with what Dr. Peterson said when he said, a lot of women are hitting their 30s and they're hitting the ejector seat. And they're realizing that they want to do other things with their life. They realize that there's things that they consider to be far more important, and the big law firms and the big finance firms and the corporates still struggle to keep them. And I see that all the time. I see that in my peers, my age, particularly women. Is that wrong? Is that a terrible thing to observe? Is there something inherently outrageous about that? Of course not. Definitely not. I mean, for goodness sakes. I was reading Genesis the other day. I am going to step on a landmine here. But I was reading Genesis the other day and I was struck actually that there's 2 words there that are used to describe. I was struck by the gender differences, the fact that male and female, he created them at different times, created them out of different materials, created them for different stated purposes. And I guess it struck me afresh that in a world that says gender difference isn't real, that distinctions between male and female aren't real, and actually that doesn't, if there is distinction, then it's just physical, and it doesn't play over into anything else. It doesn't play into anything psychosocial, it doesn't play into anything that's innate. No. Look, it's just not true. It's embedded really firmly in Genesis, where they're made at different times, out of different materials, for different stated purposes, and the distinction is drawn down. And 2 of the words that are used of women are words that the world just, this is a feminist brain explosion. One thing from the mouth of God is helper. And from the mouth of Adam in the name Eve is mother. And so you cannot be surprised, and we cannot count it as unusual or wrong if there are women who want to do that, who seek after that. And there are women who do that. And I want to say this, it's quite natural. And shock horror, it might even be good. And a great good that we've just completely lost sight of because we cannot view the world through anything other than identity politics lenses. And if you are in that category, I just want to say, never, ever be ashamed of it. Never, ever believe the lie that there's anything wrong about it. And this is where Brooke comes in. She's no fool, regardless of whether a TV host might laugh at her, regardless of whether she might live in a culture that's fully materialistic and doesn't understand this at all. What she does for love. And there's that strange paradox that we all know, that there's great reward in living for others. And by, hey, you're worried you don't get to live for others, don't be a Christian. don't get to live for yourself, sorry, don't be a Christian. None of us get to live for ourselves. That's the call of Christ on our lives, no matter who we are, man, woman, whatever. But she's doing that very thing that we don't think we want to do at first, and yet it's the very thing that we're so glad we did in hindsight, because it was the right thing and it was a good thing. And what a precious thing it is to be part of that, to make a home a place of safety, shelter, belonging, security and peace, a place where people thrive, a place where love is received and given in abundance. It's a precious thing to have 4 children who will hold you in their hearts all of their lives. And yeah, hear it from the patriarchal white guy. It's a precious thing to have a husband and a wife who love each other in equal measure and will do anything for each other to live in such a way that each other's interests and comforts are best served and each other are truly happy until death do you part. That is a magnificent thing. That is a thing that, unfortunately, we live in a world that cannot see it. And Brooke, let them laugh. They've got no idea what they're talking about. And yep, I've stood on a landmine or 6 or 20, and I've avoided some, but I don't want to do the whole Carl Stefanovic and Chris Smith thing where I want to quickly tell people how woke I am and how, yeah, I hate the patriarchy too. What? Come on, let's forget all that. Let's just start talking about what's good. And this is bullying. Let's stick up for people who get bullied by these people because they simply cannot understand the goodness of the lives that they want to lead, because it is a good life. And so I'm here to defend Brooke and many others who I know watch this program and listen to me, who are in exactly the same situation and are doing a very great deal of good. That's not only of temporal significance. It's not only true that there's love and all the rest of it and it's a great thing and homes and blah, 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 but it's of eternal significance. I mean, if the feminists want power, seriously, to have the hearts and minds of a generation in your hands to raise them is just an incredible thing. And that's what we do as parents. And if a woman wants to invest more time in that, good on her. Hey guys, make sure you click like to like the video, or hit the subscribe button down here and click on the bell so you don't miss any notifications. And to watch more videos, just click here. Cheers. Go on, click one.